Testing 1, 2, 3. Yep, I said testing 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'll give it a second. For some reason, every time I turn around, this thing drops my headset. I need to start learning to do that, and that is go in every time I start the program and put the headset back in there. But yeah, I've got audio now. Yeah, I've got audio. So it shouldn't be his. Well, we can hear you. Okay. Yep. Okay. Good. All right. Anyway, I want to thank y'all for who I was started it off saying thank y'all for already being out there in the chat. We got Katie Dotson, Michelle Marcoux, Matt Haas, Brenda from Brenda G's Designs, um, Owls out there, Jim Bashirs, and Jim wants to join us in my ears. He can. That's fine. Paul's not going to be here tonight. He has company coming, so he won't be in the chat, and he probably won't be in my ear tonight. So, but anyway, have a pretty good show lined up for you. At least I think it's a pretty good show. Um, I had several people email me recently about using polymer clay in your scroll saw projects, and I have done that over the years, and it turns out quite well. It works pretty good. Uh, oh, Katie says, "Well, crap! I was going to offer to come and narrate you." No, I don't need any narration, but it works pretty good. It's really not that expensive, and which we'll talk about it in a few minutes. Because that's what we're going to go over is using some polymer clay in your scroll saw projects. It can be done in numerous different ways. Trust me. So pretty much a lady sent me a thing today, an email, or did she PM me? I don't remember. I think she PM'd me on Facebook and said she was going to try to watch tonight. But she did one of Steve Good's vases and used the polymer clay in the vase. She said her only regret is she used 3/4 inch material and he used a ton of clay. So yeah, that's if you're not careful, you get to whatever design you're using can take a bunch of clay to fill it up. So you have to be kind of careful about that. So let me go ahead and talk about my wonderful sponsors. And if y'all haven't noticed, I got a new TV. Is that pretty visible out there to you? Let me check on myself. I looked over. Yep, we got a new. It's not a CRT monitor. It's actually an LED uh, TV. It's just yeah, it's really it's only that thick. Only that thick. But it's a really old TV. One of they first came out, and we've changed our cable settings, so none of the TVs will pick up. We went to totally digital, so nothing will pick up unless you buy the box. And uh, um, I'll talk about that when we get to it, Jimbo. Um, but they changed over to digital, so this TV was just sitting around. I said, "Hey, we'll put it over there behind me over on when I'm scrolling, so he can play the video too." So anyway, let me talk about my sponsors: Devobel Technologies for web design, development, hosting. Visit devobel.com. FastCap, innovative products for the professional woodworker. Go to fastcap.com. Rockler, 60 years in woodworking. Create with confidence. Visit rockler.com. Bearwood Supply Company, your best choice for hard fine woodworking supplies. Go to bearwood.com, and they also supply me with my scroll saw blades for this show. And Klingspor, the sanding specialist, woodworkingshop.com. Seiko, the scroll saw specialist, seiko.com. And I use my ST21 from Seiko scroll saw that they provided me for the show. Scrollnado dust collection for your scroll saw, and I use the Scrollnado here on my scroll saw when I'm scrolling. I love it. So that's all my sponsors. I love them very much. And don't forget, Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have another show here on YouTube, live show. It's called Let's Talk Shop with Russ. Most of y'all already knew that. So But anyway, all right. So let's go back to the. We're gonna talk about polymer clay. You can buy it online, and most all hobby stores, and I don't know if Walmart carries it or not. I've only found it at the hobby stores because I only looked at the hobby stores, and I wanted to go to Hobby Lobby today anyway, so I haven't even looked at Walmart. Walmart might carry it. You'll just have to check. I'm not sure if they do or not. But I went to Hobby Lobby today, but I know Hobby Lobby carries it, Michaels carries it. I know you can order it from Amazon. I know you can order it online. So you have a lot of different avenues that you can get it. There's some different brands out there. Now the one Michael carries is kind of they have an off-brand there, and I have some of it, but I was pulled it out, and it's been so long that it's hard. It won't even can't even use it. So, but I don't remember what the brand name. But Michaels has a brand name. One of the more popular ones is Sculpey. That's one of the most popular ones, and a lot of people carry the Sculpey and really like it. It's supposed to be the best, but it's also one of the expensivest. So this brand here is called Kato um, Play Polyclay. It was $4.99, which was the cheapest for 4 bars, which is the red. Let's see if I can see here. The red, which I'm using on my table, the pink, orange, and yellow. And then they have another 4 bars. It's blue, green, and another color. So this was the cheapest. So I've got the red out. I've used cheap and I've used expensive. And the difference that I found out with the cheap and the expensive is the kneading. The more expensive one is easier to knead. The cheaper ones are harder to knead. And what I mean by kneading, you literally have to take it out of the package and you have to roll it around and squish it and get it pliable. Between the warmth in your hands and kneading it, it'll become more soft so that you can use it. Because when it first comes out as these bars, I already got the package open, so let me show you. That's the orange. It first comes out of these bars. It's very, very hard and crumbly. So you just have to take it out and put it in your hands. If you Sculpey now has one, it's called soft mold, and it's not supposed to require kneading. It's already supposed to be soft. So if you have arthritis or your hands don't squeeze as good as they used to, you might want to consider using the Sculpey, even though it's a little bit more money because it's got the soft clay. But I usually put it in my hands, and most of the stuff I usually do are letters and stuff, so I usually just roll it out into these, like these right here. Now what we're going to be putting it in is, I made a keychain. I used to do a lot of keychains for the kids, and all of them their own personalized keychain. Now when you're doing a keychain, and I recommend this on all stuff, it's really good to use a backer on whatever you're going to put it on. Let's say that for some particular reason you don't want a backer. You're going to have to put, most of the time you're going to have to put a temporary backer on there, because otherwise the Sculpey will just push through, because you really got to pack this stuff in there. So this is just like put this together as a keychain. This is actually 2 pieces of quarter. I left it a little bit off so you can see that's 2 pieces of 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood, a solid piece on the back, and then my name cut out of the front, and then you can bore a hole through here for the keychain to put it in there for people's keychains. So but that's how you do it. And just make anything, you can add it in any way you want, but most of the time you really need a backer on this stuff, and you're fixing to see in just a few minutes. Like I said, even if it's a temporary backer, let's say you want the back to show through, that's fine. You need to put a backer on it and push the stuff into it. And this stuff requires baking, by the way. Yes, you have to put this in an oven, and different ones are different. Now I was reading on this one, the polymer clay that I had that from Michael's that went bad, that required 275 degrees temperature, and then the time was 15 minutes per 1/4 inch. So if you had a 1/2 inch of thickness of clay, you would have to do 30 minutes. So 15 inch per quarter of an inch, or 15 minutes per quarter of an inch. So 1/2 inch, 30 minutes, 3/4 of an inch, 45 minutes. So that's how they work it at 275. Do what? And they, well, you can. We're going to get to that. It just requires an being baked. Okay, you can use your household oven. Two things: it's going to smell, and your wife might get pissed. Now, if you're single, you could care less. But I opted not to use um, an oven, and this is what I chose to use. I think this is going to work out here. Yep, we're back. So, but that's what I use. Uh, so keychains and grilled cheese can't lose with that combo. No, no. But you can use your home oven, but this stuff kind of stinks. And the second reason I wouldn't use a home oven is because I'll get to it in just a little bit whenever I start talking about doing this. And you might have, it could be volatile. So I wouldn't want to have anything volatile in my home. Not the clay, but something else. So I'll talk about that in a second. But actually, this clay requires 300 degrees, and it says from 10 to 30 minutes. That's all it says. It doesn't say anything about 15 minutes per quarter of an inch. So from 10 to 30 minutes. So what does that mean? If it's thinner, it's 10. If it's thick, it's 30. I mean, it didn't tell you. So what I did was I went even now that, like I said, the Sculpey normally is 275, and the other stuff I used was 275, but this calls for 300, and do not exceed 350. Oh, and don't use a microwave. This stuff will not work in a microwave. Don't let children eat it. You don't eat it, and you wash your hands after you use it. Those are some of the things it says to do. But 300 degrees for 10 to 30 minutes. So I put it on 300 and baked it for, and this is a 1/4 of an inch thick what I'm using. This is 2 pieces of 3/4 inch or 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood. So the top layer is only 1/4 of an inch thick. So I put it in there for I did about 15 to 20 minutes. I think I set it at 20 just to make sure. Now these 4 bars were $4.99. By the way, if y'all didn't see the price on them before, from Hobby Lobby. So, okay. So here's my keychain. And so we're ready to put the stuff in. Now, we're going to go to the volatile stuff that I was talking about. Because of the darkness of colors, especially like reds and stuff like that, and on light colored wood, the dye out of that Sculpey can transfer in onto the wood. So you have a heck of a time sanding it off. What I like to do is, let's say that I want this to be stained. I go ahead and stain it and then shoot lacquer on it, all right, and then let it sit and dry and cure. So if you're going to go ahead, no, the clay does not shrink when you bake it. If it does, it's so minute you can't really tell it. No, it pretty well holds its shape. Yeah, it pretty well holds its shape, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes too to help prevent if it does shrink what you need to do. So, but anyway, I would go if you're wanting this thing a color like stain, like a walnut or whatever, and you use stuff like this. Go ahead and stain it. Go ahead and shoot the lacquer on it. But you're going to need to let this sit for 24 hours before you don't want to stain it and shoot lacquer on it and stick it in that oven because it's liable to go poof, okay, and maybe even boom when the vapors start escaping off of this. So you need to do that ahead of time, let's say 24 hours before, and then the following day put your Sculpey in and you'll be okay. I've done it that way and I've never had a problem. But I let it sit for 24 hours. And what that does is it stains the wood, and it also, the lacquer protects the wood to keep it from the color, the dye color out of this from going into the wood. Now I just shot this with clear coat of lacquer. I didn't want to stain it. I didn't want to take the time, so I just shot a clear coat of lacquer on it. And that, but that just a clear coat will help. Now you're going to sand that off, and you probably will end up sanding a lot of the stain off before it's over with, and you'll have to restain it, which that's okay too. But my point is you want to keep this stuff out of the wood, especially if it's a lighter color wood. So I shot this with lacquer, like I said, and a couple of coats of it, and that's just to keep the pigment out of that from coming into this. As far as shrinkage, that's what we're going to talk about now. If you just loosely put this stuff in this, you're going to have some problems. It might just fall out on you. Okay. What you need to do is when you put it in this, like this keychain, for instance, you need to pack it, and I mean pack it good. Okay. Yeah. You need to push it in there. So I've actually got a putty knife here that I use, and you just start. I kind of like doing it, like I said, I kind of start off with it like this and roll it down where it's kind of thin. And let me get my glasses on. Need to clean my glasses real quick. Do what? Liberty Woodworking. Hey, Liberty Woodworking. Good to have you out there. Yeah, insert shrinkage. So, oh, now I can see. So yeah, so you're just going to start, and you're just going to start packing this in. The more you need it in your hands, the softer it will get, and the better. Now I sometimes will take a drill bit that's smaller than the letter so it'll fit down in there, and even pack it with a drill bit. Or like I said, you can take your putty knife and just push like hell and get it down in there. But you want to get that stuff in there very, very, very substantially tight. Yeah, I want to talk about shrinkage. And you can say, well, you just leave it a little bit build up, okay? That's all well and good. You can do that. But let me tell you something. This stuff, once it dries, gets very, 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 once it goes through the oven, it gets very hard. So, I just take the little pieces off of the other and just pack it over here. The smaller pieces sometimes work a little bit better as far as getting down in there. But you just work it down into your letters. And like I said, it's okay to leave a little bit extra over the top of it. That's not a problem. But just remember, you're sanding this stuff. because it looks like this. You can't get out of it not looking like this. So you're going to have to sand that stuff off. And I found the least you leave on it to sand, the better off you are. It's not going to fall out. You don't need no taper. It doesn't. It's not. Cut them straight. I've never had one fall out. All you got to do is just pack it. I had my daughter and son. I know. Well, I don't know if my sons do, but I know a couple of my daughters still have the ones I've made for them, and that was 10 years ago. So it's not going to come out. Now, if you just loosely pack it in there, yeah, it's going to fall out. So you want to get it in there, but you don't need an angle or a degree on this. You just pack it in there. Yep. And you can put this on anything. Like I said, I wished I might be able to pull that picture up and show you, but she made one of Steve Good's vases like I did, and she made the one with the dragon on it, and she took polymer clay and put it in the dragon, and it looks sharp. Yeah, clay inlay. And then you just go through and push on it and get it worked down in there. And you can take your drill bit and push around on the letters. Just go through your drill bits and find one that'll fit into the letters. See, now there was a real soft spot there, as it went down big time. Can you sand lightly to what? No, not unless you want to gum up your sandpaper and do absolutely nothing to it. Because all you're going to do is gum up your sandpaper. It will not. It'll sit. If you sit here for a few days, it might get hard enough for you to sand, but it doesn't get hard until the heat gets on it. Yeah, it's the sand. Yeah, you would just gum up your sandpaper. You wouldn't get anywhere with it. Yeah, you don't want to. Jim just dropped that aware. I said Jim just dropped out of where, Al? Oh, why did he leave us? This is what takes the longest right here out of all this. Packing this stuff down in here. Now, once I pretty well figured out this stuff's packed pretty good, one way I know, and then I just kind of like take my fingers and start pushing around on it. Let me get back up here. Pushing it down into the letters. You can pile a little bit more up because I'm showing that I'm looking at this and the S's seem to be sinking in a little bit more. No. Jim was asking if there's air. You first off, you shouldn't get air trapped underneath there. If you take the time that like I'm doing right now and really put this stuff in there tight and work it and push it down, you're not going to get any air trapped in there. You're going to force that air out. But uh, Jim was saying if you had air trapped in there, would it really going to hurt it when it bake it? I have never had a problem uh, doing it, making sure I got it really good and packed in there. But that's what you want to do is you want to take plenty of time and pack it down in there. And then this last little bit, I always put some over the top of it and just use my fingers and push and push because I'm going to show you my little secret here in a few minutes. It comes in all kinds of colors, and yes, I got this clay at Hobby Lobby. You can get it at any craft store. Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Southern, what is it? Southern Hospitality is another craft store we have down here. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. I feel pretty confident I've packed it enough, but I've got quite a bit of excess over the top. See it sticking up, and if I'll send you some and you can eat it, Al. Al wanted me to taste it, so what I do is this is not sharp enough to scrape that off without tearing into the the letters I've found out over the years. So I use a razor blade scraper with a brand spanking new razor on it. You want it nice and sharp. And then I just start on one. And now you don't want to push hard down because you'll cut the wood and tear the wood. You just want to very lightly go across the top of it. Just the way I'm showing you here. Take your time, push a little bit. If it starts to act like it's going to catch, move it around, push a little bit, wiggle it back and forth, and see I dug in there a little bit. I have no clue. I've never done that. Yeah, that I don't know. For some reason I'm having problems with this R. I didn't have. Yeah, it's polymer clay. And there you can. Andrew Rose. Andrew, are you the one that sent me the picture of the vase with the you did of Steve Goods with the dragon in it? Okay, cool. Um, Al just said mica powder and polymer clay. He just read it. He's reading it, huh? Yeah, he's reading an article that says mica powder and polymer clay are the perfect pair. So there you go. He's going to post the article in the chat so y'all can read it. Okay, so there we have it. Um, you want to get as much off of it as you can, like I said, and put it down in there. But that's good enough. I've poked it down in there, and you can go back through now that I've got that cut off and push on it, and because like I said, you're going to be sanding over this, and this stuff does sand. It's just that you want to get as much off as you can because it's not easy to sand. So now you would take this to your oven and bake it for the time. Like I said, I read on the one from Sculpt it was 275 for every quarter, 275 degrees, and 15 minutes for every quarter of an inch. This was 300 degrees and 10 to 30 minutes, but it didn't tell me how thick. So, all right, so that's that one. Now, this one I have done, and this one has already been baked, and it has been sitting, and you can see that stuff is hard. Yep, it dries hard as a rock. Oops. Guess what? My glue gave way. I put this together with super glue. I guess the super glue did not like the heat. Because look. Now, hey, this is a good chance for me to see how good of a job I did packing. And I see a few areas that are a little lacking here in the U. Well, it came off. So obviously that's not true. Because there it is right there. All the pieces that I'm seeing are missing are on this. So that tells you how good of a job I did packing. And if you'll follow my instructions, you'll have just as much success. Because look at that. It did good. It did good. So I'll just use some, yeah, the super glue gave way, I guess, underneath the heat from being in the oven. That's wild. I did not know that. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll just glue this back on here with some Titebond. Since this don't have to go back in the oven anymore, I'll glue it on with Titebond and then squeeze the crap out of it and let it sit overnight. But yeah, that tells you here. See, it will not, it don't want to come out. It don't want to come out. So we can lay that there. Let me grab a piece. Now, if I was doing this, I would take this either to the orbital sander. Oh, and let me explain something to you. Whatever sandpaper you use to get this clay off of it with and sand it with, you either want to do one of two things. Put it in a Ziploc bag and keep it to the side for future uses with the polymer clay, or throw it away, because you do not want to sand. You sand this and then take a nice piece of maple and sand it with that same piece of sandpaper. You're going to get red all in your maple, and you're going to be upset big time. So do not. Yeah, you don't want to. If I'm going to sand with this sandpaper with this on this right here, matter of fact, I think I'm just going to cut this here and not use this whole thing. I just want one piece because I don't want to ruin it. Yeah, I'm not going to ruin all that. I'll just use this piece here. But you would sand it with an orbital sander, which would be the best. You can hand sand it. My what? Oh, okay. The little camera froze up. Let me see where that is. Let's see if that unhooks it. Okay, so yep, and it's going to come back and it's going to be working. So, okay, so I'm going to sand this with this piece of sandpaper here, just to kind of like show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, see? See what I mean? What is happening? Well, the other camper is frozen too. Yep, we got two cameras that are. This one's working. Oh, it just wants to. There we go. There we go. There we go. So there. That's what I'm talking about. See how that's gumming up the sandpaper? So it will gum up your sandpaper. Henceforth, I tell you to try to get as much off of it as you can. Now, I really want to try to get over here on the edge to see once I remove it. See if I can get enough of it off so we can see what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I mean, if you don't have a random orbital sander or some kind of sander to use on this, you're like, you're going to spend days sanding this stuff. But what I'm trying to get to is see how I press that in there, and by using the uh, lacquer, it's not staining the wood. It's pretty well coming off, and that will come off since I shot it with lacquer. So if you want to give me a second or two, I didn't plan on doing this, so that's the reason I didn't bring one of these. I gotta get this clear, or maybe I can use this corner, because I'm actually putting polymer clay back onto this, and I'm going to have a hard time gluing it. So let me get down here on this end, away from those little pieces of polymer clay. So if you want to give me a second, let me go grab a sander and let's sand this off. I didn't think we'd get this far, so let me go grab that, and I will be right back. Okay, I am back. I went ahead and grabbed my dust mask too, my RZ mask, because yeah, I wouldn't. I would definitely, when you're sanding this, make sure you wear a dust mask with that polymer clay. Yeah, I want to put my mic up. Y'all are not going to be able to hear me anyway, so throw my mic up here in the air. Okay, so let's see how this goes. I'm not going to sand this whole thing for number one because I don't want to get that much dust in my shop. Uh, I'm not set up to do this, but I do want to sand a little of it just to show one of the letters, like this S here on the end. So Al said that sounds better now that I turned it off. Okay, so see how the dust kind of stayed right there, but yeah, now you can see. Now, if you did not shoot that lacquer or seal this, you can seal it with whatever you want, but you would get a lot of stain. Because I did it before. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I would get a lot of. My camera's all still working. Yep. I would get a lot of stain out in these letters here, out into the wood. So, yep. And now I've just got to take this part here. This part I'll go ahead and, since it only takes about 15 minutes or so, this one and I'm going to try that, see if the glue lets go on this one too and it separates. I think what I'll do is go ahead. Now I'll stick this in the oven tonight. Yep, and I'm going to glue this together with Titebond tonight, and put some clamps on it and just let this one here sit overnight with a Titebond on it. And then I'll finish sanding it and shaping it tomorrow, and probably take some pictures of it and show off. So, but that is, and it can be put in any application, in scroll sawing, whatever names. And give me 1 second real quick, and let me go look over here on, I think it was on Facebook. So if y'all want to just be patient, because I did want to show this. This was the lady that sent me this. It was actually very well done. It looked beautiful. No, it's not there, so it has to be in my Gmail. Ah, it is in my Gmail. Okay, just be patient with me, guys. Uh, can you still hear me now? Okay. I'm okay. I'm coming back to Discord. So give me one more. Okay. That's another application that you can use the polymer clay in. So I'm hoping that that person is in the chat. I thought that was them in here earlier. So Andrew Rose. It may not be the same, but yeah. They said the only problem they had with that is that it used a lot of clay because it was so thick. They had to use a lot of clay in that. So that's the only thing they really had. Now you can use. You're not limited to Baltic birch plywood. Okay. Yep. Andrew Rose. Andrew, that is a beautiful vase. Let me tell you, that is a beautiful job. For shading purposes. Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be easy to mix. As hard as it is to uh, knead, just to get it to work is a pain. See, because it'll actually break. I mean, it don't really want to bend. It bends to a point, and then it'll like break. So the more you knead it, the softer it gets, and the more pliable it gets to use, and the easier it is to pack. Now I had needed this earlier, but it's set, so I really needed to spend some more time kneading it um, to get it to back really soft. But the more you knead it, the more it works. So, but that's a beautiful vase, Andrew Rose. That's a beautiful vase. Very good. So this is just a demonstration of just something small that you can use it in. But I mean, when you do these and you finish them, they look good. Now, two things. This um, I would recommend if you want colors, because if you apply stain now to this, it's going to go into the polymer clay is porous. So whatever stain you apply to that is going to go into, if I like if I use like a dark walnut stain, it's going to darken that red up. So you might want to consider, no bigger than these are, is to use like, go ahead and use a walnut or a cherry or some kind of wood that's already pre-colored. Now how I did it on mine to stop that from happening was I took the time and took some thin super glue, and after I sanded it, went through and took the thin super glue and brushed a coat on all the letters with a real little tiny brush, and then I had good success with staining it again. So yeah, sawdusto. I'm sure sawdusto would work. I'm sure sawdusto would work on this. So this is cheap and it's readily available. It's not like you have to go very far. Michael's, Hobby Lobby. I don't know that Walmart carries it. I'm sure you could order it through Walmart. I'm sure they have access to it. Walmart's trying to go in competition with Amazon, so I'm sure that they would have it. And I know you can order it on Amazon and have it delivered right to your door. So let's say that you, in an area where they don't have Hobby Lobbies and stuff, you could order it and have it delivered. So it doesn't stain your hands, even though it got red on my fingers. As soon as I wash it, it comes right off. And the best way that I have found to save this stuff after this is put it into, the best way I've found to put it in a Ziploc bag and try to get as much air out of it as you can and seal the Ziploc bag. Yeah, I don't know if they carry it in their stores, but okay, so they must. If it's free pick, Al's saying Walmart's got Sculpey online and it's saying free pickup today, so that must mean it's in the stores. So there you have it. Walmart's got it. $10 for 14 colors at Walmart. Yeah, the baking in this, the reason this requires baking is to get this stuff rock hard. That's what the baking's for. It turns this stuff within 15 to 20 minutes, rock hard. And I have had, like I said, I have not had. You can see it's not chipping it; it's holding up. So I've had never had any fallout. My, my kids have made them all, and they've had them for years. I've still got mine. Mine finally, this I used it so much the hole broke through on the key ring part, and I've still got mine sitting in a drawer somewhere. I saved it, but it just pulled through here. It finally got so wore um, the hole got wore out thinner and thinner and thinner. So if you've got a person that is a heavy user, you might want to consider maybe getting a grommet of some kind and putting in there to keep them from wearing it out so much. So, but that's it. That's the polymer clay. I got a pretty pink here. I got a yellow still left. I might have to make my wife another keychain with use the pink. Or I think she likes purple. I'll have to ask her to make sure. I know she likes pink and I know she likes purple, but I'm not sure which one she would rather. I'll just ask her. But $4.99 for the 4 bars, and you can see how much I've got left over after the red. So it doesn't require a lot when you're doing something small like I was doing. That's a pretty good amount of red left over. So, but there you have it. You can apply it to pretty much any scroll saw project. I mean, you saw the vase. Beautiful, beautiful work they did there. Keychains. You can even use it in the three-dimensional keychains, where you have your name on one side and a name on the other side. You can pack it into those, get them good and packed in there, and use it in that. You could leave the back off of it, but here's the problem. It's because it pulled some of this off, the letters are kind of chunked up on the back. That's what I was talking about. If you want to do something like this, then what I would do is put a back on it, temporarily back on it, and maybe even put a piece of, I never done it before, but I was just got to thinking, maybe if you put a piece of wax paper, like if I put the, here, let me see, if I put this wax paper in between, see what I'm saying? Yeah, it wouldn't stick to the wax paper. Just thought about that. I've never done this before, but okay, if you put a piece of wax paper in between the two and then kind of like clamped them and then jam this all the way in there really, really good and tight, then you can take the clamps off and check the back side of it and then put it back on if you don't have enough and pack it back through until you get both sides packed really good. And then once you do, you can always come back and check this and do whatever, but that would be my recommendation. You want to go from one side to get it all packed real good, because if you start taking this off when it's soft and pushing on this side here or pushing on this side without a back, it's going to push it through. I have experience with that. So you have to have some kind of backer to get it packed in there. But then once you get it packed in there, then yes, you could take it and put it in the oven and bake it. Now, I've never done this before as far as leave it like this, so I don't know if that's going to fall out or get knocked out. You have to try it and see. I've always made them with a backer on them. That's the way I've always done it. So, hey, I got an idea that just come into my head. What if you put, like if I put my first name on this side, Russ, then if I did my other name, my last name on this side, right? And I used the backer, or I used the wax paper in between and used each other as a backer and squashed. That's a good idea. I'm going to try that. And squashed them both in each directions, right? And then after I got through squashing them, well, actually, if you glued them together, I wonder if that would work. I'm going to have to do some experimenting. And then glue them together, bake them, and then this side would support this side. Because I was thinking there'd be enough of the letters offset that they would hold like if I went to push the S all the way through, let's say that there's a Y on the other side, it would keep it from going through. Henceforth, the Y couldn't come through because S would be holding it. I'm gonna try that. I, uh, if you keep it in a plastic baggie, it'll stay workable for a while. As long as you keep the air away from it. Because, to be honest with you, these little cubes uh, are not sealed as good as what you would think they are. They're not like airtight sealed. Okay. Yeah. If you just, I've had success with putting them in a bag and just squeezing all the air out that I could get out, and then you know, like what I do is roll it like this, put it in the baggie, then take the baggie and roll the baggie up to the top, and then push the zip the lock top and leave it in there. So if you do that, this lasts for quite some time. As far as shelf life, I don't know. I know I had that. I have some sitting over there that I've had for a couple of years, and it's hard as a rock. It's no good. I took a piece out to see before I went and bought this, and it was, yeah, you could have thrown it at your wife and knocked her upside the head and knocked her out. So, yeah, it, so I'm going to experiment on that. You have got this has just got me intrigued again because I'm going to try putting another name on this site, especially since this thing came apart. Uh, Putting another name on the side, baking it using this thing as my backside, baking this side, and then once it gets baked, yeah, I'm going to have to take this, cut it out. This is going through my head now. I'm talking out. Cut it out, then glue it to this piece together, and then fill it full and then bake it. It doesn't hurt to I don't think it would hurt to rebake this stuff. It's not like it's going to hurt it. So I'm going to experiment on that. Matter of fact, I tell you what I'll do. We're going to continue this show into next week. And yeah, I'm going to experiment on that this week and for next week's show, and come back and give you a report and show you what I have done and how I did it. And I wished I was baked, yeah. So yeah, so I'm going to. This has got me intrigued. I've never done this. This is the way I've always done it. Just one name, backer, and boom, gave it to them. So okay. So there you have it. I'll report back to y'all next week. And you know what's cool about this? Let's say you used. This has got me, man. My wheels are going. Can you see the smoke coming out? What'd be cool about this? You could do the yeah. You could put the rust like this red. You could put blue on the other side. You put a different color. This is interesting. Okay. I'll work on this and I'll report back to you. So actually, this is kind of like a blessing in disguise that it came apart. You give me this opportunity to try this. So, and I will find out when I bake this one if the heat is what caused the super glue to let go. Because if this one comes apart too, like that one did, this one hasn't been baked yet. If I bake this one and it falls apart like that one, then that tells me super glue is not a good thing to use if you're going to bake it because it lets go. I use my faithful 2P10. Yeah, yeah, my good 2P10, and it let go underneath that heat. So, okay, so there you have it. and I will bake this one. So tonight, heck with it. I'm not gonna bake it tonight. I'll bake it tomorrow. It ain't gonna make any difference sitting there. Not a bit. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. I hope people that watch this tomorrow and the next day they learn something. And I am going to try that as an experiment and report back to you next week. So polymer clay and scroll saw projects, especially the keychain, number 2 next week. Burnt orange and white, Dennis Goodson says. So yeah, that's pretty burnt orange and white. I would rather do orange and blue. Ooh, orange and blue for the Gators, Florida Gators. Ha ha, on a keychain. That looks sharp. Yeah, yeah. I could put somebody else's name on there, but it's my show, so why can't I put my? And I'm making it, so why can't I put my name on it? So when you, Katie, when you get a show and you teach people scroll sawing, you can put your name in your projects. So it was, I think it was, or if whoever said that, yeah, put your wife's name on the other side. Yeah, I could put Nancy on the other side. That would be a good one, Russ and Nancy. But she'd be confused on which keychain it was. Was it her keychain or my keychain? See? All right, so thank you, Brenda, for being out there. Thank you, Dennis Goodson, Michelle Marcoux, uh, James Parker. Thank you, Aussie Man. Thank you, Andrew Rose. Uh, Beautiful Vase. Thank you for being on here tonight and watching. And thank you for sending me that picture in the email. I appreciate that. Uh, those are some of the people that I'm looking back through to see if I missed anybody. But okay, Jim in my ear just looked up and said that the CA glue has a surface temperature of 180 degrees. So that answers the question. Yeah. So if you take it above 180, which I took it at 300 degrees, uh, it would make sense that it. Wow. So these jet airplanes that they fix with super glue, they have to if they have to be below 180 degrees or they fall apart. Hmm. So so yes, I just put it through. I just put that through. That's what I meant, you hateful butthole. That's what Katie said to me. Oh, jeez. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it. Sorry. Have had a lot of stuff come up. This we had my my niece's memorial service, and had to get some stuff done on that. Plus, we had the twins, some more. So I'm working on it. I'll get it to you. Uh, I'll get it to you. So anyway, you faithful. Okay. So anyway, that's it for tonight. I'll see you next Wednesday, and we will continue this, and I'll show you what I found out, and I'll let you know. And don't use super glue to glue your pieces together, obviously, because they don't stay together. You need to use a tight bond. So that's the first time I've had that happen where it come apart. But I don't. I've always used tight bond. I've never. This is the first time I've ever used super glue on this clock. Was I supposed to give you a clock? What clock? You see, here's the thing about it is, if you don't remind me, Russ is very forgetful. Okay? So if you don't remind me, it's not my fault after a while. It becomes your fault because you didn't remind me. So, I'll so I'm supposed to make you a clock, John? I have to get with John and see because I don't remember. Isn't that sad? I'm gonna. I That's sad. I forgot. If I forgot, wow. There's no hope for me. I'm on. I'm doomed. I'm gonna become an Alzheimer's patient. Every every 5 months. It reminds me every 6 months. Okay. Well, Brenda, I ain't ever said I was going to send you a scroll saw. I'm not that stupid. Yeah, Matt said he would send you a scroll saw, not me. Yeah, and he was going to doll it up and take the old. Yeah. Here, let me write this down. Just get me the hell out of here before I owe anybody anything else. I need to sing my ass out of here before I find out I'm supposed to make other stuff. Okay, here. See, I'm writing it on here. John. How do you spell Schaffner? Shaffnera. Okay. All right, so I'll put it here on my computer so I won't miss it. So I got to make John Schaffner a clock. So yeah, right now I know I didn't. Now that Al and Jim is in my ear telling me what I'm supposed to send them that I was supposed to send them. So I know. So anyway, we're getting out of here. I appreciate all y'all being out there in the chat and watching me here on Wednesday nights. I appreciate it so very much. And how do y'all like my TV? My new little TV that I got up here. Isn't that cool? It's got all my sponsors on it. Yep, like all the others. I had to position it perfect so that when I sit here or when I'm at the scroll saw, you could see it. So, all right, so we're out of here. There's only one thing I need to do other than already thank you for and thank Jim and Al for being in my ear tonight. And that it is when the sun comes a peeping into where I'm sleeping, it's out to my shop I go, just making piles of sawdust and getting covered from head to toe. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching and God bless. All I got to do is click this end session.